Hello and welcome to the Imagineer Podcast, your unofficial guide to all things Disney. I'm your host, Matthew Kroll, and this is episode number 22 of the Imagineer Podcast. Well, it's the middle of the summer, and that means that Walt Disney World Resort is probably incredibly hot and humid. If you've been to the Walt Disney World Resort, or just Central Florida in general, in the middle of the summer, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It can be very hot in the summer. If it's not in the 90s, it can definitely very easily be in the 80s, and sometimes I've even been there on days where it has reached 100 plus and humid, and that means it is more important than ever to make sure that you stay cool in the parks. And especially when you're out there traveling from park to park, you're going to be spending the day outside in the sun. It's important to know how to cool off and avoid heat stroke and other kinds of heat-related illnesses while you are traveling around the parks. So in today's episode, we're going to be talking about the ways that you can stay cool at the Walt Disney World Resort, including the 4 parks and outside the parks as well. We'll then come back at the end of the show, and I'll tell you a little bit more about how you can connect with the Imagineer Podcast on all of our social media channels and how you can help to inspire and create the future of this show. So as always, go ahead and grab some headphones, pull up your favorite armchair, and enjoy this week's episode of the Imagineer Podcast. So now that it's the summertime, Central Florida can get incredibly hot. Can get to be in the 90s. Sometimes it even reaches triple digits. It's humid. It does. And it is brutal outside in July and August especially. So as we approach these summer months, I thought it would be useful for us to talk about some of the best ways to cool off at Walt Disney World. And I brought back onto the show 2 people who have been on the show before, multiple times, only once together, and we've never had this group of 3 together, just the 3 of us talking about this, and that is Chris and Joanna. So welcome back to the show, guys.
Hello. Thank you.
Of course. And as many of you know from listening to previous episodes, both Chris and myself have done the Disney College program. Chris, you did it over the summer, right?
Yes. Yeah, twice over the summer.
Right, and I did it over the summer as well, and that was working at Animal Kingdom where it is especially hot, so knowing how to stay cool was not only a good thing to know, but a kind of a necessity when you're working in the summer at Disney or visiting in the summer. And then Joanna has experience visiting Disney in the summer. Multiple times. So it's important to know how to keep cool to avoid heat stroke and all other kinds of, dehydration that you don't want. So I think the best way for us to do this, and really is Joanna's thinking of the best way to do this, which I think is a good idea, is for us to go park by park. And then we could talk about any other places you can go to keep cool at Disney. So let's kick it off at Magic Kingdom.
Sounds good.
The first park. We'll go in chronological order, and maybe I'll throw you guys off and go in a different order. But let's definitely start at the Magic Kingdom. As always, I go last. So let's start with the ladies first.
Okay.
Joanna, what is one way you like to stay cool at the Magic Kingdom?
Oh, definitely going on Haunted Mansion.
Interesting.
Yeah, sitting in the air conditioning. Because you're not outside for too long usually.
Well,
sometimes you are, yeah. But at least they have the stuff interactive queue that you can play around with the things, so you kind of can hang out in the shade, or you could stay under the little fan that they have. But once you're in the building, you just have a nice, relaxing ride. You sit down. It's nice and cool. Sometimes too cold, but that's always fun for me.
It's funny. I was thinking of Haunted Mansion, but then I remembered we went back to Disney in September of last year, and we waited an hour for Haunted Mansion. Underneath that awning, it was pretty hot.
It was brutal. I mean, but that's depending upon
it assumes there's a wait. If there's no wait, I completely agree. Haunted Mansion is a great way to call off. if there's a minimal wait, or if you have Fast Pass Plus for Haunted Mansion, that's a great way to cool off.
Yeah.
And it is nice and dark in there, and it's got that musty smell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other place you say there's a musty smell, it's like, I don't know if I want to go there. You like Haunted Mansion's musty smell? Yeah, so good.
Yeah.
And I guess they do have, the interactive queue is cool. I just wish it weren't out in the... I wish it wasn't out in the sun.
Yeah, like the interactive queue doesn't have any shade, but if you choose to do the interactive queue, you got to commit to being out in the sun.
You do.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, it's a good way to kick us off. Chris, what about you?
I'm going to say the Main Street Cinema. I don't know if it's still... Do you know if it's still there?
It still exists. It's not actually a cinema, though.
Oh, okay.
It's a shop.
Oh, it's a shop now?
Yeah, it's an art store.
Going into the Main Street shops.
The Main Street shops, for sure.
Emporium, though.
The Emporium.
Any of the shops.
Because they have, especially in Magic Kingdom, they have the, it's almost like a shopping mall where, it's like a hallway at the back of the Emporium, and it goes through all the different shops. It goes through, like, a jewelry shop, and it goes through, like, a perfume shop or something.
Connected.
They're all connected.
You don't have to be out in the sun at all.
Takes you all the way to Casey's Corner and, get some hot dogs or sauerkraut or just sauerkraut if that's your thing. I mean, I don't know. But
I'll just have the sauerkraut.
I'll just have a thing of sauerkraut, There's that Weird Al song where he talks about getting force-fed sauerkraut since like a kid. Have you ever heard that song?
I haven't.
That was beyond there.
Sorry, that's not very Disney-esque. But anyways, no, the Main Street Cinema, at least back in the day, they would play Steamboat Willie and Plain Crazy on a loop, and you could go in and just sit there and watch and come as you go, and it was just, it's a nice little I guess like gem that people don't really know about, well, now they know about it, but
Right.
Well, now it's not there, so I'm just kidding.
But still, the Emporium and all the shops on Main Street, you can just literally, you don't have to buy anything, although once you're in there, you're
going to buy something.
You're probably going to buy something.
So you can walk right through it. You don't even have to step foot outside of Main Street.
Yeah.
It's all air conditioned. Yeah. That's a good answer. I was going to say, rather than even going to Casey's Corner, if you really want to stay cool, you hop across to the Main Street ice cream parlor.
Yes.
And get yourself a nice bowl or cone of Edie's ice cream.
Ice cream.
Vanilla. Mm-hmm.
I always like the mint chip. It's my favorite flavor. If anyone...
Chip is so
basically,
amazing.
whenever you see like an ice cream cart, you just grab yourself a Mickey Premium bar.
I think that's actually kind of a general one I even had on my list was the Mickey Premium bar or any sort of ice cream.
Oh, yeah.
It's a good way to cool off in the summer heat. Mm-hmm. But I recommend not getting a cone and standing out in the sun because the ice cream will be over your hands before you can eat it.
Yeah.
And
true.
That's just gets so messy.
And the Edie's place, they do scoops, right? It's not soft serve?
Yeah, it's scoops.
Nice.
And you could do sundaes, you could do shakes, I believe.
Mm-hmm. I remember going to that ice cream parlor when we were waiting for the...
Happily Ever After?
Yeah, Happily Ever After.
Oh.
And we were like waiting in line.
It gets a massive line before Happily Ever After.
Everybody wants that.
Quick tip, don't go at 8 o'clock. If there's a 9 o'clock showing, because we waited like 30 minutes. We waited until probably 8:30. We got there at 8, so...
Yeah. And we got lost in the crowd of people.
Yeah.
There was, like,
we almost lost our spot with our group.
People.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's a sea.
You have to go a lot earlier, so go at 7:30, 7:45, because it seems like at 8 o'clock everybody's thinking of going to the ice cream parlor, or I should say an hour before the show. People are thinking of going to the ice cream parlor or to the bakery to get a frappuccino or another type of iced beverage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, although it's interesting because soon Disney's gonna, I don't know if you heard the news, but they're gonna have alcohol served across the Magic Kingdom.
Whoa.
Wow.
Which is a big
dangerous.
shift.
That is, yeah.
That's dangerous. I'm not sure how I feel about that.
That's another way. I should clarify. At all of the full service restaurants, they're not going to be serving it at
like at kiosks.
Like quick,
right. It's not going to be like at, you could just stop by the Dawa bar at Animal Kingdom. It's in the up until this point, it's really just been at the Be Our Guest restaurant, but they're going to now extend that to Crystal Palace, Cinderella's Royal Table, Jungle Skipper Navigation Company.
Okay. Well, that's not as bad as I thought you were talking about.
Right.
I was thinking spiked Dole Whips or something.
Which would
That's a good idea.
Delicious,
Hey.
but also dangerous.
Be careful out there.
For the 21 and up listeners out there.
For the 21 and up listeners.
This show does not condone anything else. So
There's so much more in Magic Kingdom. What
I have a ton. The first one I'm going to go with is the obvious, Splash Mountain.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the queue is not a great way to cool off.
That's what I was worried
the extended queue, but then a lot of it is in some sort of under some sort of cover. And to me, even in the summer, what I always think about is when you start, you go up the stairs and you're at the second level, and then the queue is the load area is back on the first level. So you enter the cave and then you start going down. The cave is cold. It's really cold.
It's really cold.
They have that very well air conditioned, or just natural cave air conditioning. And
Natural
sorry,
cave.
gotta stay in theme. It's that it's the cave air conditioning is great. So then you step onto the boat and you're already kind of cold at that point, because then you don't really get back into the sunlight. And then they get you at Slip and Falls, and they get you a little wet, and then you go into the show building and it's air conditioned.
So you're
and you're wet, and
see, to me that's just uncomfortable cold.
but it cools you off.
Of course it does, but it's just not the same, as just being in a nice air conditioned room. Like Mickey's PhilharMagic would be my number 2 in Magic Kingdom. Because
That's a good answer too.
It's way more relaxing than
cold
Splash.
It is.
And you're sitting. I mean, you do get a little bit wet. Spoiler alert.
You get a little mist.
But yeah, I mean that's my number 2.
PhilharMagic's great. The other thing I was thinking of was for Splash Mountain was you go down Chickapin Hill, and at that point you're probably soaked. If you weren't soaked already from going around the curve at the beginning, and then when the other boats are going down Chickapin Hill, they have that
Big wave.
bucket of water. Or wave is a better word. That wave of water come over and splash
I
you.
remember when we went on that the first time. That's where you got the most wet. You were soaked at that point.
The ride, I'm going to jump here. The ride I've gotten the most wet, unexpectedly, was Frozen Ever After. Just this wave.
I remember that.
It's not even a big hill, and then you get to the bottom, and it wasn't even the initial splash. This wave went and hit the wall. It came back, and it just the wave just, it wasn't even like a wall of water. It just slipped over the side of the boat and onto my left side. I'm like, you gotta be kidding. You have to be joking.
Your phone was in your other pocket.
Yeah.
Splash Mountain, and then you go back inside after you get soaking wet from the main hill if you didn't get wet earlier, and then when they're singing Zippity Doo Dah with the showboat, it's very air conditioned in there, so you're like,
it is, but to me that's very uncomfortable.
Yeah, then you're wet the rest of the day and it's humid.
Yeah, the humidity gets me in Florida more than anything else. I just want to be in a nice air conditioned room, or I'll go get lunch in an indoor place. I'll go on Haunted Mansion. I'll go on Mickey's PhilharMagic. I'm very happy.
Yeah, that's
Even
true.
Space Mountain. I do love Space Mountain.
Yeah.
Space Mountain I have on my list, actually.
Yeah, that's another way to really cool off.
And that, most of the queue is inside.
Yep.
Yes.
And that's actually why I had it on my list as well, is
I love
because
how you said most of the queue is inside, because sometimes you're just
you are 90% of the line is inside, as long as there's not a huge wait. If it's over an hour, you might be waiting outside a little bit. Mm-hmm. But I like that queue for that reason, because even if it's an hour long wait, you're waiting inside, and it's nice and cool in there. And then you have the wind from the 28-mile-an-hour rockets.
28 mile an hour.
28 miles.
And people really do think, and it feels like it's going much faster because of the tight turns, and it's in the dark. It's hard to perceive it.
Doesn't it blow wind at you too in different directions?
Disneyland does, which is why I love Disneyland.
Oh, did not know that.
Fun fact: one of the cool things, Chris, I mentioned in another podcast episode.
That's true.
You don't have my podcast memorized? No, I don't even remember what numbers my podcasts are anymore. But the Disneyland version, it's one of the coolest special effects. They have giant fans at strategic points on the attraction, so it really feels very fast because they're these industrial-sized fans that are blowing air towards you as you're coming towards the fan.
That's Imagineering.
That's Imagineering. So that's why Space Mountain to me, it's 30 miles an hour, 32, but it's always felt a lot faster than that.
Yeah.
And part of that is because the ride is really smooth. Space Mountain at Disney World is they haven't redone the track like Disneyland did in 2005. So it's a lot smoother, but yeah, they also have fans, so that makes it go really fast. Chris, I feel like we haven't talked to you much about Magic Kingdom. You mentioned the Emporium, so what else do you have on there?
I'm going to say an obscure one. And this one, you like it already. This one, it's, do you remember the tiki statues in front of
absolutely.
Magic carpets?
Absolutely.
And they squirt water at you. There's usually a bunch of kids that like are laughing hysterically and like moving out of the way.
Sorry, that's me. That's me. No,
seriously, they'll squirt water at you and you're like, all right, now I don't have to get on Splash Mountain. I don't have to wait in the line. Not that you wouldn't want to, but if the line's too long and you just wanted to get cooled off, that's a good way to get cooled off.
Or even the actual carpets that are near it. If you want to get like the wind going, you go.
Oh, the wind,
go around circles. You get a nice breeze, even though it's stagnant air.
You could get wet and then get on the ride.
Right.
That's right.
Even better.
Speaking of that area, the Tiki Room is I'm pretty sure near there.
It's across the path.
All right.
Yeah, there you go.
That's another great way.
That's another good one, yeah.
My favorite in Adventureland is Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, I almost forgot.
Because you're not outside for too long, and if you are, at least it's covered and they have fans in that part of the queue. And it's funny how a lot of the ways to cool off is to wait in line and Disney attractions.
Yes.
But then Pirates of the Caribbean, obviously, most of the queue is inside, and it's nice and air conditioned in there.
You really don't get wet.
It's nice and dark.
Even though it is a boat ride.
Yeah, but
spoiler alert.
It's a nice. The point is that you're inside for a long period of time, and it's productive inside. Like you're waiting in line, which is something you might have to do anyway. So that's one way to cool off is to wait in line if you don't have a fast pass for it.
If you do want to get wet on that ride, though, you sit at the very front right of the boat. Because what happens is when you go down, there's a drop, and then the boat will suddenly hit the side and turn suddenly to the left. And as you hit the side, water will splash up into that seat. That one specific seat always gets wet. And unless you time it correctly and your one of the cannons hits the water and it'll explode next to
I was
you.
thinking of the cannons as another way to get wet on that attraction.
And if you really don't want to get wet on that attraction, just try to sit in the middle of the boat.
That's true.
Magic Kingdom has so many ways.
I still have more on my list, so do you have any others?
I mean, we could probably go on and on. I mean, any of the restaurants, the sit-down restaurants.
Yep.
Right. Any of the places to go shopping, you can always go inside.
Yeah.
There's air conditioning.
Columbia Harbor House is my personal favorite for lunch.
Well, that's my personal favorite.
I know. But we can both have the same personal favorite. It makes it easy for us when we go to the parks together.
Yeah.
Imagine if we had two different places that we loved. Yeah. I would always lose.
Yes, you would. No, yeah.
I would have a new favorite place.
Yeah.
There's so many places in Tomorrowland. I think everything in Tomorrowland is inside, except for the character meet and greet with like Buzz. And the TTA is.
I was saying the TTA.
But you still go inside everything.
No, but that was one on my list because even if you're not inside, it's outside, and you have the breeze from moving around.
Magic Kingdom,
and it is covered.
If it's a hot day, Magic Kingdom is one of the parks I would say you should go to.
Yeah.
TTA
for sure. Mm-hmm. Anti-gravity's ice cream, work there. But they keep the doors open, so it gets kind of muggy in there, but it is air conditioned. Cool Ship is outdoors, so but they do have a mister.
Yes, they do.
So I guess that would be one of mine is the Cool Ship mister. Because that'll rain down a bunch of mist on you, and you feel a lot cooler after that. Mm-hmm. Hence, Cool Ship. But
is that why they call it that?
If you work there, though, it's not very cooling. It's very hot.
Oh, it's a hot park to be in. Don't even play with me. I was outside all day at Kilimanjaro Safaris in the hottest park in Walt Disney World. We will get to that, Joanna. Yeah. Joanna's catchphrase. I still have to put that on a t-shirt.
We will get to that.
We will get to that. And I already thought I'm going to have the silhouette. If you almost like Peter Pan's shadow, the way Jen described you in episode 20 with your hands on your hips.
Yep, back in the 90s.
Back in the 90s.
We'll get to that. The other one I had on my list, I'm surprised you guys haven't mentioned this is Castle of Progress.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's 20 minutes in the dark.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people love to nap on that ride. Some people fall asleep.
Oh.
Twice.
It's
Twice.
You have the summer heat
True.
and then you go and sit down in a nice comfortable chair.
And there's usually no wait, so
There's no wait. You have
Never,
nice soothing music. Very optimistic.
it gets stuck in your head all day.
It gets stuck in your head all day.
It's already in my head.
You fall asleep because you're comforted. Mm-hmm. You feel at home.
You feel at home?
I think it's the greatest compliment you could give to that attraction, is falling asleep in it because you're comfortable.
Yeah, exactly.
I typically don't fall asleep, but I have closed my eyes in there before. Yeah. There's one at Epcot. I used to do that all the time. Which I think we're going to transition over to that park. I don't.
This is the transition.
The transition.
Here we go. Moving into Epcot.
I'm going to move into Epcot with an extinct attraction that I used to love to cool off in, which was Ellen's Energy Adventure.
Oh.
Yeah.
That was the best attraction at Epcot to cool off.
Absolutely.
Except you had to wait in the sun. But if you timed it right, because if you do get into the show, you're gonna if you're waiting in line, you're gonna get into the next showing. Uh-huh. So if you know the next time that's available, like take a quick peek at the clock, you would then go hide like in Interventions for 10 minutes, and then come back out and get in line, and then you're only outside for a few minutes, and then you would get right into the pre-show, and it's again dark, cool, and then you're inside for 45 minutes.
They used to make you stand while you watched the pre-show.
Safety begins with me.
For safety.
It's a dark room.
It is dark.
You don't want anybody tripping over you.
Nobody should trip over you. And they used to make you stand the whole time, but then people start sitting down, and then you really want to sit down, but then everybody else is getting in trouble for sitting down, so you shouldn't sit down.
Listen to the cast members.
And for those of you that walked in just now, where have you been? You're late.
You're late.
I love your hair.
Brought to you in stereo sound. Surround sound.
Surround sound.
Aww.
Oh man, I'm gonna miss that attraction.
Yeah. I technically jumped into it with an extinct attraction, but Chris, did you have one on your list for Epcot?
I have a few actually, but I'm gonna start off with Mission Space, because when you get into the cockpit, it is blowing this
so
cold air all over you.
Yep.
And if you wear contacts, I don't know if you guys wear contacts.
I do not. I know you do.
I do sometimes, and they dry out because it's like in your face, you know. And it's there for what's it about, like a 10-minute attraction or so?
The actual ride?
The actual ride.
It's only 3.5 minutes.
I know.
I'm serious.
I should know this.
It's because you go into hypersleep. You really don't know.
It feels like 10 minutes of hypersleep.
That's what it was, you know. I'm like pulling a whole Mark Watney thing. Like we're going to Mars. I'm going to get left there. I got to grow potatoes now. Like, sorry, I got to stick to Disney. But yeah, I'm going to say the cockpits and Mission Space.
Do you know why they're so cold in there?
Yes,
and why they're blowing
do.
wind on your face?
Yes, I do.
Why, Joanna?
No, I don't want to say it.
Is it to help prevent any sort of motion sickness?
It's to help. Yeah, it's not going to do the trick if you get motion sickness right. But that's one of the ways is that they blow down your face. The other thing I've heard, I don't ride Mission Space, so I don't know, but I've heard that they also have a mint smell.
Oh yeah.
Is that true? I've never been. I will not set foot in one of those cockpits because I will be like.
I mean, I always
puking my brains out.
Notice some sort of like fresh and minty.
Yeah.
Yes, but
I always used to think that they were just covering up the vomit smell.
Well,
that might be it.
It might be it, but no, it's really it's mint is supposed to be calming for your stomach and all that. But.
Oddly enough. It's so backwards because every time I go on that ride, I always get so nervous, even though I shouldn't, because I never get motion sickness. But then when I smell the mint and I feel the cool air, it gets me even more nervous.
Yeah.
It's like it's reverse psychology. It's like, why are they blowing mint and air in my face? There must be something that's like.
No, I'm really uptight. What's going on? Can't control it.
It's like when someone walks in and tells you to calm down. You're like, why? Why do I have to calm down? You're like.
Everybody remain calm.
Yeah, I do not personally cool off at Mission Space, but I have walked through the queue in the pre-shows, and it is a nice way to cool off, and most of the queue is inside.
Well, I don't know about that. Again, I do go on Mission Space pretty often, and I feel like the adrenaline hit makes me really sweaty and like, even though it's keeping me cool in there, it just gets me really sweaty and gross.
Well, I guess I'm just weird.
No, it's a good answer.
It's a good answer.
Joanna, what's on your list for Epcot?
Oh, it's too many places for Epcot. I mean, I love staying cool. You could tell because I get sweaty really easily.
You can feel it through the podcast.
The listeners are like sweating now. They're like, this isn't keeping me cool at all.
I want to know how many listeners at home are actually like sweating thinking about riding Mission Space. Now that we're like really talking about like the feeling, the sensation.
You've been talking about it, and I've been getting a little bit nervous.
I'm getting nervous. I've never been on it.
No, there's so many places in Epcot to cool off. I'd say Epcot's the number one park to go to if it's a hot day. Mm-hmm. They have literally everything is inside. I can't even think of too many attractions that are even outside.
Well, I have to say it's the park that is the easiest to get sunburned because the distance between place to place is far. And if you're not wearing sunscreen, especially walking around World Showcase, like that's a mile around.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah. That's true.
It's everything is inside at Epcot though.
Yeah.
That makes it nice, but it is like it's the park that you would think you would be safe from things like that, but because of how far you walk from place to place, and they really are if you pay attention and actually think about it, like that walk from Test Track to Soarin' is a good good solid 3 minutes if you're a quick walker. Easily 3 minutes.
Yeah.
That's true. You should always wear sunscreen when attending the parks when you're in Disney.
Public service announcement. Wear your sunscreen.
But like you said, everything is inside. But if you want to be inside the longest, you can either wait online for Test Track.
Yep.
Or you go to the Hall of Presidents. Right?
You mean American Adventure?
I do mean American
Adventure.
Hall of Presidents at Magic Kingdom, though. Segueing back. That's another one.
Hall of Presidents is a good one. I do mean American Adventure.
They do have like the coolest air conditioning.
In American Adventure?
No,
Hall of Presidents?
Hall of Presidents.
Yeah.
Oh.
There's something about the air conditioning.
We missed that one. Well, it's like a 40-minute show. No.
Yeah.
American Adventure is it's 35 minutes.
Right.
American Adventure, yeah.
Yeah.
How long
Hall
is
of Presidents is like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
20 minutes.
But it's a new show now, didn't they?
I haven't seen the new one yet.
They have a new...
I haven't been there since it's been opened.
I don't know how much it's
We'll do
changed.
it in September when we go.
Because I know they got rid of Morgan Freeman. It's somebody else is doing it. I don't know.
That's actually a good thing now with what the news is. But anyway, that's a different subject. So... Yeah, American
Adventure, if you want to be inside the longest, other than waiting online for Test Track, American Adventure is definitely the way to go.
Yeah.
You'd be sitting down, you get to listen to the Brothers song. Oh my gosh.
Oh, the Brothers.
Two brothers on their way.
Oh, gets me going every time.
Every time we go with the Zimmerlicks.
Yep.
We go on that ride like 2 or 3 times in a row. Like they love it so much. That has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Well, that's previous guests, Mike and Brian.
Yes, Mike and Brian.
They love American Adventure.
Yes.
I do too. It's a great show.
It's a very good
I do
show.
love that show, yeah.
I hope they don't change it. Or didn't they?
They updated it. They updated it recently, so there's a new ending. They added more people to it.
That's right, because I think they added like some new tech people. Like Elon Musk is in the montage now. And
is Ellen in it?
I think Ellen is in it.
Yes, I think she is.
Ellen.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they added her. I need to go back and look. I watched the end scene on YouTube once, and then I haven't watched it since.
Yeah.
So, for me, actually at Epcot, my favorite pavilion is the Land. And that's the one I think you could stay the coolest and the longest. In fact, if I knew it was going to rain in the summer, especially at that 4 o'clock hour, and I was at Epcot and I saw the radar on an app saying that the storms are coming, I would head straight for the Land Pavilion because...
But everybody does that.
Not necessarily. I don't think everybody really thinks about that.
Yeah, I've seen people do their run to the Land.
Well, that's true. But even if it's starting to rain, you go to the closest building. But people do go in there that know that it is a pavilion where you can do Living with the Lands, even if there's like a 10-minute wait with that, that's 20 minutes carved out right there. If you get hungry, you have Sunshine Seasons, which is my favorite quick service at Epcot.
Yeah.
If you do Soarin', that could be an hour-and-a-half experience for you.
Yeah, but that could be very uncomfortable.
It could be.
Standing in that line.
You got the games. If it's still raining, you just hop back in line and do it again. And if you're really strapped, they do have that mini gift shop in there. They have, if you find a reservation for the Garden Grill, you can go to the Garden Grill.
And they also have the show with Timon and Pumbaa.
Well, that's gone now.
That's still no.
Yeah,
it's
gone.
Yeah, Circle of Life.
There.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. They should have updated that. Aww.
Yeah.
And they have Living with the Land.
Living at the Land, that's right.
Still there. I love that cute little.
I love
ride.
Living at the Land.
I know we talked
about that in the other
previous
episode.
Podcast where you get to pick out which fish you want to eat at Garden Grill.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I love the Land. That's one of my pavilions. I'll hold off on the second pavilion I had. American Adventure I did have on my list, but there's a second pavilion I think that's good for cooling off.
The Seas. Definitely the Seas.
The Seas is good. I actually didn't have that on my list.
No, I love the Seas. You get to look at all the different, fish.
No, yeah, it's a full-on aquarium.
Right.
It's great, yeah.
You could spend just an easy hour in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just looking around, even.
I agree.
Other than doing any of the Nemo stuff.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Chris, for you, is there any pavilions that you had? I know we have American Adventure, the Land, the Seas.
I'm going to say Impression de France is like the coldest air conditioning.
You said that about everything.
I need to go back and do a reel of the coldest air conditioning. It's the coldest air conditioning.
So I actually, and this is kind of my fault, but I went to the Japanese quick service.
Katsura Grill.
Yeah, but
I love that place.
Has it always been called that? I don't
believe.
I don't remember.
I don't know how far back it changed, but
okay,
if it did change, but I thought it was.
So I went there and I got the curry, which was like the best thing. And now, ever since when we went back in September, they didn't have it anymore. They'd taken it off the menu, unfortunately.
Menus changed.
Anyways, I got that and I was so dead after that, like a food coma. And so when we went back outside, and this was in August. We went back outside. It was almost triple digits. It was 99, almost hitting 100, and it was absolutely unbearable. And all of a sudden, I just felt terrible. I just felt
I felt that before. It's hard. It's hard in that heat.
Yeah,
it's a sun poisoning or something.
Yeah,
you have to drink a lot of water.
Yeah. And I felt and I was just drinking a lot of water. I'm I'm still not feeling better, and so. We had been walking towards France, and I'm okay, let's go watch the France film and see if I feel better. We went in there, and then, we came out, and I was just I feel so good.
Yeah.
And it was because of the air conditioning. The air conditioning is the coldest. Repeat it again.
That's Chris's catchphrase. The coldest air conditioning.
You know what's one that's very similar that you wouldn't think is that air conditioned, but it is Canada.
Yes.
But you have to stand.
No. For the show you do, but if you're lucky enough, my recommendation, if you're not near, that is close to Impressions de France. Impressions de France, you have to stand when you wait, although people do sit on the floor. Mm-hmm. Canada, if you're nearby and you need to find that shade and that coolness, if you're lucky enough to just miss the show, which I don't say often, but if you're lucky enough to just miss the show, you go to the Canada waiting area,
they have benches.
They have benches. It's very cool in there. Mm-hmm. Even though there are windows, it's just nice and cold and air conditioned, and it's it's dimly lit. I always like those dark ambiances.
Yeah.
This actually wasn't one on my list, but when you talked about Impressions de France, it's another one.
I agree. Canada is a great place to sit down because they actually allow you to sit down.
Yeah. And
unless you're in the show.
I have seen that there are. It's not the norm, but I have been in Canada, and they've said if you want to sit down, you can.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But everybody had to sit down. It was once the show started, once the doors were closed. Maybe it was just one of those days that they said it was okay, but I have seen that before. The one I actually was thinking of for Epcot World Showcase, though, was Mexico.
Yes.
Because you do have a lot of shopping there. There's not a ton of places to sit, but you can go to Grand Fiesta Tour. The wait's usually not that bad there. They do have the San Angel Inn, which you will need to have a reservation for, but sometimes you might get lucky if it's an odd time of day, there's no wait, there's an open reservation. You can sometimes just find your way in there. And you also have the tequila bar.
Well, that'll make it hot, though.
Well, you can get the chips. You get the chips and a nice glass of water.
And the frozen margarita stand.
Frozen margarita stands.
Well,
That's true.
we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. We're there. We're there.
Was that one of yours?
Yeah.
That was yours? Well, that's a good segue over to you. Was the margarita stands was one of them?
Oh, yeah, any of the frozen drinks. And China has a really good non-alcoholic
Strawberry tea slush.
Yes.
The strawberry oolong tea slush is so good.
Oh wow, it's like a little quick service tea tent thing. That
The joy of tea stand over in China.
All right.
I can't forget. My college program, I was there like 3 times a week getting the strawberry oolong tea slush.
Yeah, I mean any of those cool
Spending all my money.
So you got your
those
money.
cool slushy drinks, they're so good. I know Chris mentioned a Dole Whip earlier, but that's back in Magic Kingdom. Oh yeah, to stay cool in Epcot is really an easy task.
An easy task.
Yeah.
Chris, did we miss anything that was on your list for Epcot?
Yes, there were. I forget the name of it, but it's the.
I'm sure Matthew knows.
It's
Club Cool?
Club Cool.
That's on my list still. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned that one.
Club Cool, the Beverly, and all the different flavors of soda from around the world, and yeah.
Club Cool was on there. The other one that I had was to grab a nice iced coffee.
Yes.
From the Fountain, Epcot Fountain Pavilion. I forgot actually what the name of the place is, but it's a Starbucks location.
It's a Starbucks.
Over at Epcot. It's Starbucks. I only call it Starbucks, even though it actually has another name.
Yeah.
And
I guess, it's not existent anymore, but, Interventions.
That was a great place.
Yeah.
I went in there a lot.
They don't have that anymore.
Lots of the extinct attractions were great places to go and cool off.
Yeah.
But like we said, Epcot, everything is inside, so truly you can go anywhere, right? We're just thinking about the best places to go and why. Which places have the coldest air conditioning?
The coldest air conditioning.
Let me tell you.
Consult Chris on any of your air conditioning needs. All right, so I think that kind of covers Epcot. Let's jump to, it's funny, you would think that the park that is the hardest to get cool at would be Animal Kingdom, but I struggled with Hollywood Studios. I have a few things that are on the list, but this one I struggled with. So let's jump there. I think it's going to be the shortest one.
I'm going to start first. Great Movie Ride was the best place to cool off.
It was.
It was.
Well, this is why, again, this is a hard part of the podcast episode, because Hollywood Studios doesn't have a lot that's inside anymore. It does, but
it's true.
Everything has a long exterior component to it. Rock and Roller Coaster, there's often a long wait outside, even though it's covered and there's fans.
Even Tower
of Terror has a long wait outside. It's not until really you're close to the pre-show that you're inside.
Yeah.
In both attractions. Mm-hmm. So...
well, they have the animation studio.
Star Wars Launch Bay. Yeah, that's on my list.
Bay. That place was really neat. You get to meet, I think the Incredibles are there.
Well, now it's all Star Wars.
Oh, okay.
So now it's BB-8 and Chewbacca and Kylo Ren. They switch it up. But
they switch it up. Yeah, I think I remember seeing even Sorcerer Mickey one time when I was there.
When it was Art of Animation, they had Sorcerer Mickey. They had who else was there? They switched it up.
Mm-hmm.
But that was actually one of mine. It is extinct now, but
Really?
the animation
Art of Animation
studio
where you can draw.
where you could draw.
Oh yeah,
They don't have that anymore.
No.
Yeah, a few years now.
Not
Oh
anymore.
my gosh, I have been missing out on all of these things.
I think California Adventure is the only one that does it now.
Yeah.
It was so much fun when we got to learn how to draw all the different characters.
It was great.
And it was so
Rapunzel.
You get to take home a little souvenir, a little work of art, and you sign it yourself so
it didn't
nobody can
cost you
steal it.
anything.
It didn't cost you anything.
You just had to wait. But it was very refreshing to be inside for that long.
Yeah.
Well, Star Wars Launch Bay is a good answer because you can still hang out there.
Yeah,
They have all the
Launch Bay's pretty
artwork
cool.
and
I
shop.
can't wait to go see it in September.
Yeah.
So jealous of you guys. I'm so happy for you, though. I'm really happy. I hope you guys live stream the whole thing.
We'll be doing a ton. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I don't think the whole thing, but
The whole thing.
Chris, what was on your list for Hollywood Studios? Launch Bay, I think, was on all three of our lists, but
This was probably going to be on one of your lists. One Man's Dream.
yep.
That's a personal favorite. Like, even when I did my first college program, I didn't even know it existed. And then I went one day. Actually, it was before work one day. I was like, I'm gonna go, ride Tower of Terror, and then I was walking around and just see this like One Man's Dream. I saw a picture of Walt Disney. I was like, what is this? And I walk in and there's just a museum.
It's a museum dedicated to all of the animation that he ever did.
Oh, it's so
everything.
great. And yeah, you so it probably takes maybe, if you're looking at everything, 15, 20 minutes to, see all the different things, the different exhibits. And then at the end, they'll have some sort of, model of what's coming soon. For
Right.
instance, the last time we were there, I think it was Toy Story Land or,
Yep.
yeah, I think that's what it was. And then they had like a Star Wars, the Galaxy's Edge
yeah.
model over the side. And then they have the film, and the film's about, was it 15 minutes or so, 10 minutes?
It's, although I don't think they do that anymore.
They don't do the film anymore?
I don't think so.
Oh, don't
Everything's
say
leaving. Anyways,
I think so.
That was a
And
good
someone
way
can
to-
correct me if I'm wrong. I actually haven't done it in a while, so
Yeah, that was a good way to cool off. Especially when, at the end where they jerk all those tears and, tears start rolling down your
Yeah.
face, then you really cool off. So,
it was really all started by a man.
by
A man with a dream.
A man with a dream.
And a mouse.
And a mouse.
So sweet.
You've got Julie Andrews narrating it. Yeah, it was a good film.
Yeah.
I am going to save one that I think Joanna will say
Okay.
and jump to my most unique one, I think, of this park, which is Sci-Fi Dine-In Theater.
Oh,
Okay.
good one. Good
Okay.
one.
And here's how you really pair it up. You have a reservation. You really need a reservation to go into Sci-Fi.
Doesn't matter what time of day.
Doesn't matter what time of day, but especially make it a lunch reservation. And then you hop on over while you're waiting to Baseline Tap House. Get yourself a nice beverage. And then you hop into Sci-Fi, and you've just got that, again, dark lighting, air conditioning. You can hang out in there, eat, drink, enjoy, have a nice chocolate shake, and then just, hang out and sit in the air conditioning. So
And watch really corny 1950s, 1960s
Yeah.
horror movies.
I know I talked about this in the last podcast, how Sci-Fi is one of my faves.
it
It's
is.
so good.
just all those little trailer movie things are so funny.
And being a big Mystery Science Theater fan, I mean, this is obscure, but and this isn't Disney-wise, but that's what they would do. They would make fun of all these kind of films, Attack of the 50-Foot Woman and,
The Blob.
The Blob, and just make fun of them. It's so good.
Yeah. What do you think you think I'm going to say something else? about
Yeah,
this
I do.
movie?
I have something else on my list that I thought you would say.
Oh wow. Okay.
I mean, do you want me to tell you, and
Is
then
it
you can?
Star Tours?
It's not.
But that's one of them.
Oh, so let's go to Star Tours. I'll share the one I thought you were going to say, but what about Star Tours?
Star Tours. You can. I mean, the entire queue is inside, except for one little part
The
of
Farce
it.
Moon of Endor.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. You're inside for so long on that one, and it's really entertaining to walk through the queue.
It is. And you have the gift shop.
The gift shop.
The gift shop.
The gift shop.
Every
The
Disney
gift
attraction exits at a gift shop.
At a gift shop.
What were you really?
I was going to say Muppet Vision 3D.
Oh my gosh, you're totally right.
See?
I should have known that. That is my favorite.
I was saving that for you,
I
but
laugh at every single one of those shows. Every one of them.
and the pre-show is air conditioned, and the
Yes.
show is air conditioned, and it's the Muppets, and it's enjoyable. You can't sit for the pre-show, but then the main show you sit.
Yeah.
I think it's a great one.
Oh,
Really
yeah.
cool off.
Absolutely a great way to cool off. You could easily be in there for 30 minutes.
You know, was the worst attraction for cooling off that's also now extinct is Lights Motors Action. Oh. that was horrible
man.
attraction to do if you're trying to cool off in the middle of the day.
They even had fans, but you could never feel the wind from the fans.
And then at the end, they have fires.
Well, same with the Indiana Jones Spectacular.
That one is just covered, and that's about
covered,
it. Yeah.
But there's fire, and like, what can we do to these tourists? Let's give them fire in the middle of August.
It's an awesome show, but it's not a good show to do in the middle of the summer, in the middle of the day.
Now too?
Yeah. Well, that's Star Wars Galaxy's Edge.
Okay.
I can list for you on one hand, I'm exaggerating, two hands, the attractions that are open at Hollywood Studios right now.
Yeah, that's too bad. But it's going to get better.
Yeah, it's going to get better.
Did you have anything else on your list for the studios, Chris?
Yes.
Okay, go for it. Because I was thinking there's one that we're kind of leaving out, but...
Oh, I don't know if this is going to be on it.
Oh, all right, go ahead.
This is kind of one of my obscure ones. The best air conditioning.
The best air conditioning.
I haven't really thought about the coldest air conditioning in studios. Huh. I think the Great Movie Ride had a pretty...
It was the Great Movie Ride.
Yeah.
Now it's going to be something else.
Yeah.
Muppet Vision 3D, maybe.
Yeah, now it would probably be Muppet Vision 3D.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with, you go to the 50s prime time, and you go to the bar.
Oh,
you don't even need a reservation.
That's right.
There's like a bar there.
Yep.
And you order the peanut butter and jelly milkshake.
Okay.
I know that sounds weird.
No, it sounds great.
Trust me, when you guys go in September, go have that. Don't just try it. Just get one, see if you like it. If not, bring it back. I'll finish it. Okay? It's one of the best milkshakes.
I'm not sure it'll keep, but you're the second person to mention that.
Oh, okay.
On a separate note. I mean, obviously this episode is about staying cool, and that involves things like milkshakes. But in the food episode, we talked about the best full service dining. 50s primetime was brought up, and peanut butter jelly milkshake was brought up.
Okay.
Oh, who brought that up?
It's really good to know that
Our friend Jen. We need to have a bigger group, and Chris and Jen have never met. Jen's probably listening to this episode. It's like, who's Chris? We need to get him on the show. we need to introduce him.
We can share our love for the peanut butter and jelly milkshake.
Well, I never knew that you don't need a reservation just to go in there and get the milkshake.
At the bar.
You can even get it to go.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I would get any milkshake, not just the peanut butter and jelly.
They have plenty of other good milkshakes there, but that's the specific location for the peanut butter and jelly one. Like, you can't get it anywhere else, I think, on property.
Very cool.
So,
was there anything else at Hollywood Studios?
I mean, Toy Story, but
that was the only other one I was thinking.
We kind of mentioned that. We brushed over it in the beginning.
And it's inside, but to be honest, I wouldn't go there to cool off. It's not a comfortable attraction to wait on.
No, not really.
It's
very close
tight in there.
quarters.
Yeah, there's a lot of people.
It's much. I like that queue a lot better than the Disney or
California Adventure
one.
Well, there in California, everything's outdoors because it rarely rains. I don't want to say it never rains, but they built that whole park to be like mostly outdoors.
Yeah.
So let's move to the hottest park. Chris, let's give like glaring eyes. He's talking about working anti-gravities. The hottest park to work at, which is Animal Kingdom. This is the park where I think it's the most useful to find places to cool off because lot of the attractions are outside. A lot of the waits are outside. It is an outdoor park.
Yeah. I can give you like a general way to cool off. I mean, you have to go to Animal Kingdom either really early when it's just open and the sun is not too hot.
Yeah, especially in the summer.
Yeah, or you go at night, and I know they have the nighttime show there now.
Yes.
Like, in the middle of the day, you cannot go to Animal Kingdom. It is so hot, and there's so much walking. But there are definitely ways to cool off if you're there.
Yes. One of them that's not going to cool you off is Everest. There is nothing. I mean, there are some indoor parts to it, but
Everest does not have anything in it.
It's not. I love that ride. It is not a way to cool off in the summer.
The part with the Yeti is air conditioned.
That's true. Those 10 seconds
that matters.
They're right. The parts that are the attraction inside are useful, but for cooling off. But that's about it.
I mean, if you've ever heard me on this show before, I think you know what I'm going to say is the best way to cool off.
Go. You start this off. Go ahead.
Oh, I will happily start this off. The best way to cool off, in my opinion, in Animal Kingdom is dinosaur.
Yep.
I
knew you were going to say that. I didn't even put it on my list. I knew Joanna was talking about.
If you've ever heard we talk on this podcast, it's gonna be about Dinosaur.
If the wait is out the door, don't do it. It's gonna get shorter. At least it should.
Unless you really like hearing Bill Nye's voice.
I do actually.
Well, inside is fine, but I have seen, especially during like Christmas week.
Oh, like
the outdoor queue.
Whoa, I've never seen that.
I've seen it where they built that attraction to take a high capacity in the queue, so they have. A lot of the attractions have this. There's like, I've been on this obviously for safaris. I've seen the extended queue, which is outside. It's like you would think that the line is long enough. And then you go and walk through the extended queue, you're thinking, how many people are in this line when the extended queue is open? But Dinosaur has an extended queue, which is really just, in Kilimanjaro Safaris, it's technically in the middle. But I've also seen the Mission Space extended queue. Did you know they had that?
No.
It's behind Mission Space.
What?
It's off to the side.
Isn't Dinosaur also behind it?
Well, it's off to the side. Both of them, it's kind of... Mission Space, you don't even know it's there because most of the time you just walk right into the building. But if it's ever extended, there's this area, if you're looking at the building, to the right behind that swoosh from the front. I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah.
There's extended queue back there.
Whoa.
But all the secret... We should have an episode on the secret extended queues.
Extended queues.
No, but Dinosaur has an extended queue that's outside in the sun.
Yes, but I have never been on
So
Dinosaur
don't do that, but yeah,
when
I
there's an
haven't
extended queue. I mean,
I've just seen it.
even a 55-minute wait for Dinosaur is like, what? That's crazy long. It's fine. It'll die down. Just come back to it.
Just come back. Yeah.
Dinosaur is absolutely my favorite, and I never want them to take it away. Ever.
Unless they change it.
Maybe.
Nobody say anything.
Rumor mill. Dinosaur's good. Dinosaur's a good one.
Yeah.
And it is cold in there.
Yeah.
The coldest air conditioning... actually might be the coldest air conditioning is at Dinosaur.
Oh, yeah?
Think about it.
Oh, all right. Yeah, all right. Now we're talking.
Chris, keep that in your pocket for a future.
Makes me think, like, where are they storing all these iguanodons? I mean, that's a lot of iguanodons they keep bringing back. We don't take them back to the Cretaceous period.
That's true.
You know?
I think there's something shady about Dr. Seeker. He's just trying to... he sends all the iguanodons back. He just wants to give the guests a...
Well, I think he's a heck of a paleontologist. I do say so myself.
Yeah, about that. Chris, what about for you, for Animal Kingdom?
Have you thought about it?
I have. We talked about it earlier. Okay, it's either one of two places, but I don't... Is Pete Safari still there?
It is.
It is?
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. That was like my go-to place when I worked there because it was the only place or quick service place, restaurant, let me use other words than just place, where cast members could get discounts.
Oh.
So, being poor and being a cast member, that was always my go-to restaurant. But other than Pizza Fire, I'm going to say Tiffin's. And I know it's expensive, but let me tell you about the Wagyu beef that we had there.
Chris should have been on our food one.
We got this 3-course meal. And let me tell you something. No. It was just we got the 3-course meal and we got the whole like package thing with the Rivers of Light show and all that. But the air conditioning was crisp and cool and a little breezy. But it was very nice. It was very comfortable.
We gotta have you back on the show anytime we talk about specifically air conditioning. Air conditioners.
Crisp and cool and a little breezy. I had a few.
Well, say the best one right now.
Okay, I'll save the best one. So this is kind of a double one, but they're related. You go see Festival of the Lion King or Finding Nemo the Musical. My personal preference is Festival of the Lion King, but a lot of people love Finding Nemo the Musical. Both of them, you're inside for 30 plus minutes in air conditioning. It's similar to why you would go see American Adventure or Hall of Presidents. And it's in both cases enjoyable shows, nice air conditioning. The only problem is waiting outside.
Yeah.
Festival of the Lion King is covered in the new building for most of it, so a good portion of it. Finding Nemo is completely outside. So again, you want to show up early enough that you know you're going to get in or have a Fast Pass Plus for it, but not so early that you're standing outside in the sun for an extended period of time.
True.
So for me, those two shows are a great way to cool off at Animal Kingdom. there's not many other places. I can think of other places, but I know we have a few places left to mention. So
what the?
Like an animal
what else?
kingdom?
Yeah, an Animal Kingdom.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
In
I said
Pandora.
a lot of it is outside. So
In Pandora, right? Both of the rides in Pandora would work, except. I can't remember any of the names now. Unbelievable.
Not
Flight of Passage, not
Well,
River
Flight
Journey?
of Passage, they do have an outside queue.
Yes, they do.
And you are waiting in line for a long time, so it is definitely difficult to do that. But once you get inside, you're inside for a
long time.
Even longer time.
Yeah.
And that's fine too. But I think the queue for
Navi River Journey.
Navi River Journey might be more inside.
It is. It's down
completely, right?
It is. It's completely covered.
Yeah, that might be better.
And the ride itself is very cold.
Yes.
Both rides are nicely air conditioned, and it's a new building, so
Yeah. Yeah.
that would explain why.
So there's also a lot of places in the Animal Kingdom to cool off. I mean, definitely wear sunscreen, and I would say don't be walking around in the middle of the day, and don't go on Kilimanjaro safaris at high noon. But
And now you can do it at night.
Now you can do it at night.
Right, morning or night, best times to go.
Well, in Pandora, the one place you forgot to mention is Satuli Canteen.
Well, okay, we mentioned that.
I mean, that's a great place to cool off and enjoy.
Should we tell the story again about the dessert?
Oh,
Yes, Chris,
I don't know if we told the story on the podcast
We didn't
before.
tell this story because it had to do with you. So
Are you sure you want to tell this story?
this is a story about me and Chris's adventure in Satuli Canteen.
This was like our first like kind of interaction because I had never. Briefly we had met before, but like we sat down and we shared a meal and stuff like that. And then as we're getting up to leave, so we had fast passes for Kilimanjaro Safari. It was like 8 o'clock or something at night.
Yeah, it was a nice hike over from Satuli Canteen.
Yeah, it's quite a hike.
We rode Flight of Passage for the first time. Well, Chris had been on it previously, but Joanna and I had never been on it before. Most of the folks in my family had never been on it before. We all rode it together. We're all hyped up. We go to Satuli Canteen.
All 20 of us.
All 20 of us. Actually, that day it was less. It was like 12.
All right, 12.
Oh, that's right.
Or whatever. There's still a lot of people.
20.
Yeah.
We go to Satuli Canteen.
Let
we have
Chris tell
the
it.
bowls for the first time, which I love.
Oh, the bowls are so good.
I'm stealing this from Chris.
And like
Go ahead.
and they had the little like the hot hamburger bun things or whatever. Those are so good.
The pods.
The pods. That's
Yeah.
what. Yeah. So anyway, so I'm like eating, and so I got the raspberry, blueberry,
The mousse dessert
thing. Like
mousse
looks
cheesecake. Yeah.
Yeah, and it looked really cool. And so anyways, everybody like gets up to go, and I'm like, whoa, where's everyone going? And I'm like, oh, we gotta go. We have a fast pass for Kilimanjaro Safari. Like, oh, okay. So I finish my meal and I have the dessert, and I'm like, but I have to eat my dessert, and everyone's just like, well, I don't know. And then Joanna is like, just pick it up with your hand. Like, who cares? Like, just take it. And I was like, but can I do that?
Well,
and she was,
I said take the bowl.
Do not do that.
Well,
do not take the
bowls.
Well, hang on. We were inside eating.
We were inside.
And we had the bowls.
We had the bowls.
And the forks.
And the forks.
And I'm like, just take it. And as we're walking out, and I said, just leave it on the last table.
On the last table. Yeah. And so I did. I took the bowl and I was like trying to scoop it up with my hand, and like then I'm like, oh no, I'm getting towards the end of the restaurant. I'm like running out of time. And so like I just scoop it up with my hand in one scoop and then put the bowl down. And then we just start booking it towards Kilimanjaro Safari. And I have this blueberry dessert in one hand. People are looking at me like, dude, did you leave? Like, did you forget the plate? Like, what happened? Like, are you okay? And I'm sitting there like, just munching on this thing. I've got blue stuff all over my face. And then, so by the time we got to Kilimanjaro Safari, I'm like, oh, that was so good. And then we ended up having to like wait a little bit because like
We had someone fall behind.
That's right. And I was like, okay, that was worth it. But yeah, that was the story of
That was like me and yours, like first real.
was our first interaction.
First interaction. That's no better way to bond.
Hi, I'm Joanna. Hi, I'm Chris. Yo, just take it.
Just take it. Just shove it in your mouth. It's fine.
Moral of the story:
don't take the bowl.
don't take the bowl. So Thule
Oh,
Canteen.
hey, if you're inside, you can absolutely take that
You can
bowl.
take it, but leave it on
rounds.
Leave
Yeah.
it on the last table outside.
the last table outside.
See, in hindsight, what should have happened was you consult a cast member for a to-go container. And
There was no time for
There was
that.
no time. Do we have time? There's no time. There's no time.
it was the tail. Like it just so you guys know, listening, this was the tail end of the Fast Pass Plus. Like we were within the back 15 minutes. It's not like we had an 8 o'clock Fast Pass. I'm pretty sure the reservation was for 6:45.
Oh, that's
and it was
right.
approaching 8 o'clock, so we were within the back end. So it wasn't just like because we could have probably, if it was an 8 o'clock Fast Pass, we could have hung out.
Oh, was
We
this
could've hung
was
out.
this the trek that when we lost my dad for
Yes.
a while?
That was
That's
who
what it
fell
was.
behind.
Yeah.
He fell behind, but you have no idea.
He never ended up making it to the attraction, and we rode it without him because otherwise we wouldn't have gotten
We
in.
would have
so.
gotten in, yeah.
No, to be fair though, he did find a bench and he sat himself down, but we didn't know that.
Oh, okay,
We
okay.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
We had to go find.
He was
bench.
just chilling, having a good time.
Yeah, he was fine to miss it. He was like, I was gonna relax here, but he should have told somebody.
The only other one I have on Animal Kingdom's list is Kali River Rapids.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, but again, that gets
I know
you,
it's Motor Splash Mountain and it's
gets
outside.
you
And
just wet, and it's like, oh, I don't need to be wet right now.
But that is a good way to cool
the water's
off.
cold.
The water's very cold.
Yeah, but then when you get out, you're just damp and humid.
You bring a fresh change of clothes, hop into a restroom, change. No, it's I know it's hard to
Definitely
do
bring a
that.
fresh change of socks, if anything else.
Oh yes,
But you, like wet socks is
Wet
the worst.
socks is the worst.
That's very true. Oh. Yeah, that's just, I'm like memories are coming back.
Even from Splash Mountain, getting your shoes all wet. I remember that.
Those days. Anyway, I cannot believe we're already approaching the hour mark of talking about this. I thought this would be like a 20-minute
About
conversation.
the ice cold.
About how to stay
refreshing
cool. Yeah, the ice cold refreshing
air conditioning.
But I do want to do some locations outside of the parks, so we'll keep this just general. Go ahead.
Sorry.
No.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, let's jump into it. So
Okay, I'm a little biased here, but the best place to cool off
With the coldest
outside-
air conditioning.
With the coldest, actually, the air conditioning was really bad in this place, but is a place that I worked at called Beaches and Cream.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to cool off,
yeah.
you get a bunch of friends or family, you get a booth, and you get the kitchen sink. And then you just make yourself sick with all that ice cream and all the toppings in the
Wait,
house
you
and a
need
whole
bunch-
can
you need
of whipped
a
cream.
bunch of friends to eat this.
You do.
you need, it
Unless you
serves
really
4
want to.
plus.
You can eat it yourself, and if you eat it, I don't know if they still do it, but if you eat it under, I think it's 18 minutes by yourself, it's free. But don't quote.
Highly not recommended.
Highly not recommended. And when I worked there, I only saw one person do it, and it was like this guy was like a marathon runner. He ran marathons all across the country. He ate an entire kitchen sink and then had a burger and fries afterwards.
Oh my
It was
god!
crazy, and
I'd
he was
be
just like,
sick.
yeah, and he's like thinner than you, like he was like really thin, and he just got up and was just like, okay, that was fun. See you guys. Like, all right.
And then he passed out.
And then he went for like another, like 5K or something, But yeah, so I'll say that. But yeah, the air conditioning is it's kind of stuffy in there, to be honest. But unless they fixed it.
See, one of the things on my list was related to that, but
Well, is it my thing?
I don't think so. I was going to say just going to the Yacht and Beach Club.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Because that's there's a lot of places inside to enjoy it. It's one long building. There's a little bit of time outside to go from Beach Club to Yacht Club or vice versa. But you just find a nice chair in the lobby at the Yacht Club or the Beach Club. I think the Beach Club is even better for it, actually. And sit and enjoy. You can grab an ice cream or a nice cold drink from one of the quick serve locations in the resorts. And just kind of hang out in there for a little while. In fact, if I was ever not just needing air conditioning, but needing like a little break from the crowds at Epcot, I would just walk through the International Gateway, hop into the Beach Club. It's the closest resort to the Epcot, and just hang out in the lobby for like 10 minutes. Just grab some water, relax. I say 10 minutes, it's more like 30 minutes, and just relax in there. And then when I was ready, get the energy back up, especially in that summer heat, would walk back to Epcot.
I know that when we went to Disney, I think the second time we ever went together, we went on like a 10-day trip to Disney.
That was awesome.
It really
Nice.
was. I mean, the difference between the 8th day and the 9th day and the 10th day is basically pennies.
Mm-hmm.
So you might as well just get the 10-day park hopper. But we didn't necessarily spend all 10 days at the parks. I remember that a really fun thing that we did, it was cooling off for sure, but it's very similar to what you said. We just kind of did resort hopping, and we took a bus to Disney Springs, but I think at the time it was called Downtown Disney.
At the time, it was, yeah.
And then we just go to different resorts and walk around and see everything. And this was only before I met Matthew, I had only been to Disney maybe 6 times, which is
Just still a lot.
Which is still a lot, it's true, but it's definitely not nearly as much as I could have been going.
Well, we also work there, so we were there many, many times.
But I'm saying, like, of those 6 times, most of them was when I was very young with my family, my parents. And then once it hit 2005, I went, like, one other time. And so when I met Matthew, I got to explore more of Disney, in different ways. And I think not necessarily just park hopping, but even resort hopping and seeing which resorts had the best air conditioning or the nicest scenery was a lot of fun, really relaxing. And it wasn't necessarily always constant cool, but it was definitely more chill.
Yeah. And that's what I always recommend anybody that has either never been or never had an extended vacation there. It's like, I recommend going for maybe 7 to 10 days.
Yeah.
And maybe spending 4 of the days in the park, and then the rest of the days just relaxing, enjoying what's available throughout the park property, whether it's Disney Springs or, even taking or just resort hopping, yeah. Oh, I do have another.
Yeah, go ahead.
To stay cool, but feel like I've been talking a lot. So
No, you haven't. I was just like, it's second.
Oh, okay.
I was going to jump on what you said, but I can.
No,
I
go
can
ahead.
wait.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say just the biggest mistake I see people make, especially first timers, and you have families that and this is just coming from a cast member from what I've seen, a former cast member from what I've seen, the families that have never been to Walt Disney World, who take their families for the first time and go during the summer months, which is when I found people would get the most upset, is it's really hot and you go in with the wrong expectations is really the thing. It's and not the best plan. So if you go for 2-3 days and you plan to go in the summer during July or the beginning of August or even the end of June, and the heat is one factor, but then everybody else is taking their summer vacation in Disney. It's one of the peak times to go. So that means it's going to be crowded. And people would think, and you pay a lot of money to go to Walt Disney World. There are ways to save, but especially for a family of 4, you add up the park tickets, the dining, even if you use the dining plan, the hotel, the airfare, it adds up to thousands of dollars. So people will expect, especially because of Disney service, they're going to have a certain experience. But there is some level of having to plan out your day so that, one, you're not going to get on everything, especially in one day if you don't have, if you're not lucky enough to get the right fast passes, because you're not always that lucky. You might, have to wait if you want to ride Flight of Passage in the summer. You might have to wait 3-4 hours to ride Flight of Passage, unless you get there an hour before the park opens, and then you have up to a 30-minute wait. And the other mistake is that people get exhausted because they're going from park to park to park in the heat, waiting in lines. If you got, your whole family with you. So, to get back to resort hopping, the best thing you could do, like Chris said, is extend your trip to maybe 7 to 10 days if you can afford it. And, maybe that means you stay at a value resort instead of a deluxe resort or a moderate resort. And
go to the pool.
You go to the pool.
Go to the pool.
And the best thing you can do is, if you have the time, take the middle of the afternoon when it's the hottest, go back to the resort. Eat lunch, you do your mad rush in the morning, you get yourself caffeinated, you wake up super early, you get on that first ride on standby that normally has a very long wait. Maybe it's Space Mountain, maybe it's Flight of Passage, maybe it's Test Track. And then you do your couple fast passes in the morning, you get a couple of rides done, you maybe have a little snack or breakfast and go back to the hotel and have some, have lunch at the hotel, take it laid back, maybe take a nap in the room, get cool off in some air conditioning, go to the pool, enjoy yourself. And then once you're, really relaxed, then you go back to the parks towards the end of the day when it's getting a little bit cooler outside, or not quite as oppressively hot in the summer, and then do the other attractions. Maybe have dinner in the parks. Just take it at a little more relaxed pace. It's hard to do a lot in the parks in the summer in such a short number of days.
And especially in the summertime with the later hours. Because when it's off peak, they shorten the hours. I think 2 or 3. Like they'll close at
it could be like 8 p.m. sometimes.
8 p.m. sometimes. But yeah, summertime it's like midnight. So maybe 1 a.m. sometimes. And they
have extra magic hours.
And extra magic hours, especially if you're staying at a value resort or something like that. You get those extra magic hours. So
yeah, definitely don't overextend yourself.
Yeah,
it's hard. It's really hard
because you want to get as much in such a short amount of time as possible. So, but. Yeah, you can sleep when you get back home, I guess.
You need a vacation from your vacation.
Yeah.
And we can't forget to mention the water parks.
Oh, of course. Those exist? No, but then you're wet.
Then you're wet. Then you go to air conditioning.
But you're in your bathing suit.
They are not my favorite places to go, but they are definitely places where you can just, hop on a water ride and not worry about getting too hot.
And Disney water parks are not like the other water parks in the country.
They're some of the best.
They really are. Typhoon Lagoon, the theme is incredible. I always didn't, I didn't go to Typhoon Lagoon until I was in my 20s, and I didn't really understand what the appeal of it was. But that's a cool place to go. Literally ends in theming. It's, the whole backstory behind it. And Blizzard Beach, too.
I actually don't know the backstory to
There was a typhoon. It's literally like there was a typhoon that came through this area, and that's why you see this ship that's all the way at the top of the peak. Stranded up there. But I love the whole ambiance of that place. There's a lot of pools there too. There's a lot of water areas. But then Blizzard Beach is just another cool park, and it's the concept. It's a ski resort in Central Florida,
right?
And all the snow is melting, and it's so clever.
That's great. Yeah, the lazy river at Blizzard Beach. So that's a lot of fun.
So head to the water parks. Not included with your park hopper, but
not included.
There is the water park option that you can add on, or just go separately. So yeah, that was a good addition. I only had a couple more. Resorts in general, I think, are a great place. You go resort hopping, especially the deluxe resorts. Animal Kingdom Lodge, that lobby's really cool. Grand Floridian Contemporary Resort, you hop on the monorail, go around once. The monorail's not always that well air conditioned, but it is still air conditioned, and it's
air conditioned. It's a fun little ride, and actually, I was gonna say, I don't know if they still do this. Do they still have the refillable mugs?
They do.
Okay.
For the resorts, yeah.
Okay, but you can get a refill as many times as you want at any resort still?
Yes. Yeah, if you're staying, if you get the refillable mugs, you can use them at other resorts. You don't have to use it at just yours.
Because that was my favorite part to cool off. We were talking about how you have an extended stay, you go back to the resorts or you go resort hopping. The best thing to do during a resort hopping experience is you get one of those refillable mugs and you just go to each resort and you get a nice drink, or if it cools down at night, you can get coffee or tea or something like that, because the mugs are very versatile.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
So yeah, back when we did our college program, my friends and I would go resort hopping. We would take like a little vacation, go resort hopping, and it was called the Sisterhood of the Traveling Mugs. So yeah, side little note there.
Yeah, and just note that when we did the college program, it was a little bit different. Now, now it's I think what they're doing is very smart. There's RFID chips in the cups, so if you are staying there for, let's say, 7 days, you can extend the length of your trip. And then once, let's say you wanted to bring that mug back on a future vacation, it's not going to work. It's only going to, it knows the days that were selected, and it'll only, you put them on the soda machine, and so the machine reads the RFID chip, and if it's past your vacation, past the time that you paid, it won't work anymore. Because there were people that really were taking advantage of
I could
understand
the system. That. Yeah.
So But it's a refillable mugs, especially if you plan to spend time at the resorts, are really worth it.
Yeah.
Just note, they do not work in the parks.
Yes, they do not work in the parks.
You can only use them in the resorts.
Yes.
So
we got so many questions at
Yacht and Beach Club, at the Beach and Cream, or at Tomorrowland.
In Tomorrowland.
Yeah.
Tomorrowland Fantasyland, they're like, oh, I'll get a frozen lemonade. And they hand me the mug. I'm like, I'm sorry, they don't work here. And I'm like, oh, I just feel so bad.
Yeah. Well, there's a reason for that.
There's a reason.
Was there anything else on your list, Joanna?
No, I think we're good.
The only one I had on my list that was different was if you do plan to spend a day in Disney Springs, it can get hot. Fortunately, you're mostly there to shop, probably. So you hop from shop to shop. Don't plan your shopping accordingly, so that you're not going back and forth across the place, because it's hot outside. But you get a nice cup of ice cream or shake from Ghirardelli's.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I forgot about Ghirardelli's.
Or if it's towards the end of the day and you're feeling like a more relaxed drink, you go to Hangar Bar and have a nice drink there. So.
Dun, 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 dun.
Okay.
Anyway, I think we kind of covered a lot of stuff today, more than I thought we would. So I think thanks both of you for coming on the show. I think these were some great ideas to keep cool at the parks.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
of course.
Thanks for having me.
I'll have you guys back again.
Absolutely. It's hard to get out of these podcasts when you live with them.
So
You love it. You don't have to do any of these.
So now what I have to do, since I'm not at a Disney park, is I got to find the best, coolest air conditioning in New York.
You're going to start a blog.
I'm going to start a blog. The best air conditioning in all of New York City.
I like it.
Well, people rank bathrooms.
They rank bathrooms.
Yes, they can rank anything.
I mean, it gets so humid here. Might as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then in the winter for New York, you have to say the best places for heat.
Best places to warm
Keep
up.
warm. Yeah. Number one, the subway.
That's very true. And actually, in the summertime,
And with that, we close out episode number 22 of the Imagineer podcast. If you are perhaps traveling to Walt Disney World this summer, if you were there right now, I hope that this podcast episode brought you a little bit of relief from that summer heat, talking about all that cold air conditioning. Thanks again, Chris. And the other ways that you can stay cool around the Walt Disney World Resort, whether you're at the parks or just traveling around the different parts of Walt Disney World. If you have any other ideas for ways that you stay cool in the parks, that you find that you're able to find some relief from that summer heat, I would definitely love to hear your ideas. You can send me your feedback and answers in a few different ways. One way is by emailing me at imagineerpodcast@gmail.com, or you can send me a private message on any of our social media channels, which include Facebook and Instagram. You can find us there at Imagineer Podcast. You can also find us on Twitter at Imagineer Audio, or you can join our private Facebook group, which I'd encourage you to join if you are a fan of this podcast and a fan of all things Disney. You can find that group at Imagineer Podcast Disney Fan Community on Facebook. Two ways to find it. Either go to Facebook and type that into the search bar. Again, Imagineer Podcast Disney Fan Community. Just search under groups. Or the easier way to do that is to go to facebook.com/Imagineer Podcast and click on the community tab on the left-hand side. We'll be sure to include links to this podcast episode in those channels, and you can go ahead and just leave a comment in one of those posts. You can share ideas that you have for ways to stay cool. I want to know the ways that you do stay cool at Walt Disney World in the summer. And as I mentioned, you can also send me that private message if you would like me to read your feedback on the air in a future episode. And as always, if you are not already subscribed to the podcast, please be sure to subscribe, whether you are listening on iTunes, on Google Play, on Stitcher, on Podbean, whatever your preferred podcast channel is. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and leave us a rating and a comment, especially in the iTunes store or on Facebook. I will be sure to read your rating on a future episode. I definitely encourage you to leave us those ratings because every review really does make a big difference. And what makes an even bigger difference is you sharing out the podcast. So I want to thank those of you who have been sharing out each and every episode. I see you out there, especially Keith and Rob. Lately, I've seen you on Twitter sharing out the episodes that we've been posting. So thank you so much to both of you and to everyone else who has been sharing out the podcast. Just go ahead and either share it on one of those social media channels or just let your friends know that this podcast is around, especially if they love all things Disney. Each new follower, again, really does make a big difference. And I want to thank you for sharing out the podcast with your Disney friends. And lastly, folks, I know I close out every episode with this important message, and I want to make sure that you remember it as always. It's that famous quote from Horizon, so please remember that if you can dream it, you can do it.
Hey, hold it. You're not a penguin, you're a chicken.
Yeah.
I told you chickens to stay on the other side of the road. Okay, why did this chicken cross the road?
Yeah.
Ah, that's funny. Hey, penguins, I got a joke. Why did the chicken cross the road?